Hello again. Yeah, this week has been this week has been a back and forth for me personally. Um, this is the first time that I've ever made something, and I've ever made like a schedule and stuck to it. I've when it comes to my YouTube channel, it's the first time that I've done that in a long time, and I intend to keep this schedule, and I intend to stick with it. So. So in terms of what I want to talk about today, I want to talk about apologies and what they mean, what their nature is, because I've received a fair few of apologies this week from family members and from other people in my life. And these apologies have been overall good. They've made me feel better, but it's also got me thinking about what the purpose of an apology is and whether it was a good thing if that apology happened or not. Because because I've had a lot of arguments throughout my life that I've been with other people, and I had a pretty nasty argument this week with someone, and at the end of that argument, it was a couple days after they apologized to me, and that did make me feel better. It made me feel better. It made me feel safe again, but it did make me question because during the argument I did feel unsafe. I did feel unsafe with the words that were spoken, and the person I argued with was a family member, and it made me, it was very much a wake up call for me, that argument. I'm not going to talk about what went on in that argument because I very much not like to remember the details, but basically that argument, it got so heated that my safety, I felt like my safety was threatened, and I felt very fearful. And, after the argument was over, I felt very scared. So scared, in fact, that it made me reconsider my relationship with my family. It made me it sort of kicked me into gear into making friendships and relationships that were outside of my family and having people to rely on outside of them. I've been, I talked before about the center that I'm in, and I've been making friends over there. And I'm now making an active effort to build the relationships that I have over at that center and with other people, and I have been doing that. And I've been building a relationship with one guy, and he was the guy that I messaged to make me feel better after the argument happened, about a day after the argument, and I told him about everything that was going on. I felt like my safety was threatened, and I felt like I needed help financially, and I needed help, to get to and from places to do my errands because that ability was threatened in that argument. And I told him everything that was going on, and he got back to me. He called me and he said that whatever I needed, he would help me in the best way he could. And I was very thankful for that. Very thankful, and I let him know how thankful I was. He would, he would, if ever I had any struggle to pay for my meds, or if I ever had any struggle to get to and from places like the pharmacy, the supermarket, or I had trouble buying things, that I could call him up and he would help me. And when he told me that, I just felt so overjoyed. I felt so overjoyed. I wanted to jump up and down because of how safe it made me feel. Because that's the first time that ever happened to me. having a friend that I could rely on in that way. Because, I've said before, all I've had was, especially during my childhood, all I've had were acquaintances that, I wasn't exactly a priority in their life. I was just a person that they joked around with at the lunch table. I was just a person that they, you know, tolerated, you know. But this time now, now as an adult, I'm now making better friendships. I'm now making truer friendships, and it's definitely a process because I've never ventured down this road before, but I'm venturing down it right now, and I'm building skills as I go, and I'm going to be continuing to do that because it's very personally fulfilling. So that was a positive in my life. A negative situation was turned into a positive, and that is a very rare occurrence. It hasn't happened in a long time, but it's happened now, and that's good. And there was another apology that I received. It was, if you watched the nightly rant, you may know what's going on in that situation with my uncle. He came by today, and he helped out with my grandfather, and he came to me and he told me that the way that I've been helping my grandfather and the way I've been treating him, and he knows about it because my grandmother has been bragging about me on the phone with her friends and with other family members about how I'm helping her, and he told me that he was proud of me for doing that, and he told me that he was very proud of me as a man to hear that about me. And that was very weird to hear because he has been one of the people in my life that have made me feel almost like childlike, and to hear that from someone like him, it definitely made me reconsider how I want to feel about people. I went to him after he told me that, and I went to apologize to him on whatever way that I hurt him, or I hurt other people in his life, or the way that I had made the situation worse. I apologized for what I did, and he accepted it. And I also have an update on the money that was being held. I don't know if I talked about it in the last video, but the money was transferred to my grandmother, and she has it now. I basically said I basically came to them and I said I don't want the money. Just give it to her because she needs it more than I do. And so that was done, and she has the money now, and she needs it because, with the Social Security and it being cut in half, so she's gonna need it, and it's now in her hands. And that's a stress. That's a stress that has been taken off of me, and it feels good to have stress being taken off of me. And him talking to me in that way and me apologizing has definitely taken off a big burden, a big one, because that used to be one of the biggest burdens of my life, and I don't feel it as strongly anymore. And I'm making progress. I'm making progress in that regard. And it feels good. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not looking for problems to solve. I'm not looking for problems to solve. Whenever I feel like a moment of peace, I'm always looking for a problem to focus on. And that makes me come out of peace, and that makes me feel uneasy, because I'm now in this new problem, and I have to solve that new problem, and I can't rest until that problem is solved, and I constantly have problems. And I'm not looking for problems anymore. I feel silence. I hear silence. and I can go to bed easily, and my nights aren't as hellish. I have peaceful nights now. And for the last like 3 years, I haven't had a peaceful night. The nights were my worst. The nights were when I felt like I was at my most, I was at my most primitive state. I felt like I was an animal during the night, and I feel like I couldn't control myself, and I can control myself now. I can do that now, and that's a good thing. And I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say that I'm doing good and then I have another problem that's going to come out of nowhere and I'm going to have to solve that. And I'm afraid that it's not going to last as long as I want it to. This good part. But, you have to come to the realization that, good things don't last forever. You have to experience the bad eventually. But likewise, bad things also don't last forever. And you're going to feel good again. It's a back and forth, back and forth. That's how life is. Nothing is ever static. Nothing lasts forever. It is ever changing, ever evolving. And then at some point, you just have to accept that, and you just have to roll with the tide. And I'm getting better. I'm getting better at stabilizing myself. I'm not falling into the water. I'm not drowning. And I feel like I can be my own person, and I can stand on my own 2 feet. And I feel like I have a real name. I feel like I have a real voice. And I feel like my voice has power. It has power now. And my decisions have real meaning. And I'm happy for that. And when I'm given a task to do, when I set myself a task to do, I fulfill that task with little resistance. Because, it used to be, I had trouble even taking care of myself, because if I viewed that as a task, I could hardly do it, because it just took so much energy, and my mind was just so clouded. Yeah, I apologize if I'm swallowing a lot. I've been sick this entire week because I went to a parade that was hosted in my city, and that parade gave almost everybody the flu, and I've been knocked out. Yeah, but I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another day. And this too shall pass. And I have a lot of people to thank. And I have a lot of people to apologize to. And I'm gonna do it. I couldn't do this alone. I could not do this alone. I am not self-made by any definition. Without the people in my life, I would still be depressed. I would still be suffering. And without these people, I think I wouldn't be alive. But I am alive, and I can make my own choices, thanks to them. And I could not be more grateful. So thank you for listening to me. I'm gonna see if I can come up. I'm gonna see if I can write a better script for these videos so that I don't sound like I'm rambling, and come up with better topics. So that's gonna be my task. and I'm better at completing tasks now, so I should be able to do it. Right, so thank you for listening, and see you next week. Goodbye.